Well, Mark. Who is back on the Friendly Men, Mark? And we have a new person joining us. Who's on the Friendly Men panel with us today, Mark?
All right. Well, today we got some very special guests. We have Chris.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
Vocals. And we also have, Rick Hernandez, who's in Wither and Soul, and he's also in a band called Blood of the Wolf and does drums.
He quit that band.
Oh, we did it. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was in that band, but
he was in that band. Yes, Chris Grimm is in Blood of the Wolf.
And the other two guests, we also have Derek from Scour, and Phil Ensemble, and there's that other band. Shit.
And
not last but not least, I mean, we also
Mark, you should get a job at The Price is Right. So you're gonna be like, okay, next contestant is Leslie. Come on down.
That's right. We have Derek from Philip and Selma and the Illegals and Scour. Jesse from Stormruler. And we're going to be talking about their new album,
Sacred Rites and Black Magic.
Derek recorded bass on the first album. So my first question to you, Derek, is how are you going to prepare for their upcoming tour with Cannibal Corpse, Dark Funeral?
I already know the first album's Tasty Bass, so that's no problem, but I'm getting together with Jason, who laid down the bass on the new one. So he's like showing me all the stuff, and it's really fucking cool bass lines, pretty tasty stuff. So kudos to Jason, and I look forward to ripping them.
What's the weirdest venue you guys have toured so far?
I don't know. I mean, Stormruler has done like one longish tour and then two like quick runs that were like a week a piece. So we haven't done like a butt ton of shows, but I definitely remember playing one place that was somewhere in Texas. It was like very similar to like a Buffalo Wild Wings kind of like place that just happened to have a stage. And one particularly odd moment was when we were setting up and like line checking and stuff, and like we were checking our fog machines, and there was like a 10 top of people sitting like just a couple feet in front of the stage, having like a big meal, like right where like a pit would be, like that close to the stage. And we're like checking fog machines and stuff, and it's like blasting these people with like waves of fog while they're eating a nice sit-down meal. And that was a little odd. I'm not good at remembering venue names and which cities they were in. I just like have images of this place and was like, yeah, that was kind of weird. It ended up being kind of a weird show. That's what happens when you go out, by yourself and you're a relatively unknown band. You got to get shows wherever you can. And it tends to be at some of the kookier places around town. So that one definitely stuck out. On the Devastation tour, most of the venues were like pretty nice. There was one show where we got there and there was like issues with the sound, like there wasn't sufficient sound rig, and the guys were like, pacing around on their phones and trying to figure out how to like get additional gear into the venue. They ended up borrowing stuff from a church. This is for Rotting Christ performance. They ended up borrowing stuff from like a local church or whatever, and an additional soundboard and sound rig. And it wasn't until like an hour before the show was about to start that everyone was like getting a quick sound check in and actually getting things going. That was kind of kooky.
Derek, what about you?
I've got a few funny places. One time I was in Europe with Covenants, everybody's favorite band from the East Coast, and we were in Germany, and we played in the basement of some mechanic shop, so all the walls were lined with stacked tires, and it was just like, you know, it was just dirty, but kind of safe, I guess, for the pit if you get knocked.
Good place, yeah. It's a good place for a mosh pit.
Yeah, I don't know. One time, another weird place. I mean, there's so many weird places, like Jesse has said, but there's two places that strike out to me when I was on tour with Cattle Decapitation. One was actually kind of made national news. We played this bowling alley somewhere in California, and they had a little stage or something, and so that was kind of odd. But in the middle of the show, somebody actually stabbed somebody else in the neck in the pit. So
Jesus.
Yeah, it was nuts, dude. But it was at a bowling alley, which is what makes it extra funny. And I think the guy lived and this and that. Something happened.
I got a question or two, actually. Did you guys keep playing, or did you know about the stabbing, like mid-song, or it was like between songs, or what?
We were 4 songs in, and the promoter walked on stage and like grabbed Travis's ear and told him. And so Travis is like, "Hey, we got to stop. You know, police are here." Caution tape to our van, and like,
wow,
we couldn't even load out. We were just like stuck there for like hours.
Oh
like,
my god.
I understand it's fucked up, but one dude stabbed another dude in the throat, and he's probably going to die, and there's a whole lot of cops outside, and you all need to very quietly and peacefully leave.
Everybody's going to die!
And you need to go that way, because that's all police lined off as a crime scene now.
Who cares? Fuck
Do not go out that door, it's a crime scene. Go that way, quickly, but peacefully. And I apologize, but you have all been fucking cool tonight. We've had a great fucking show, right up to one asshole. One asshole stabbed another asshole, and now we have to stop. And I apologize, but we need to leave.
Were they questioning you, like, did you boys have any maybe questionable lyrics, or maybe anything that might have instigated a certain kind of event such as this? Maybe, you know, kill yourself, kill someone, and stab someone, anything like that? I mean, you know, these kids are very susceptible to this kind of influence.
Associated with like Marilyn Manson.
Ask anything like that, because we would have been totally screwed. You know what I mean?
What are your influences? I'm just curious, like what, you know, influences do you have?
You know, basically just like the black metal that everyone loves, you know, Immortal, Emperor, Dark Funeral, Marduk, but also like there's some lesser known bands that we particularly are into. Like there's a band, Allegiance, who I think is like the best, like one of the best presentations of the black metal approach. They only got 3 records from Sweden. B War from Marduk was like in the band. He's like the guitar player, maybe the vocalist. And they also have the same drummer as Marduk in that era, that Frederick Anderson guy. They're 3 of the best black metal recordings ever made. I mean, they just crush so hard. Tackrin production on the second 2. Dan Stueno recorded the first one. You know, all the song names are in, I think all the vocals are in Swedish, and they're, you know, you open up the booklet, it just says Viking black metal or something like that in there. That's like just in 3 huge words, you know, and I'm just like, oh man, it destroyed. I mean, that shit, those 3 albums were like a huge influence on like the Stormruler sound. You know, like when we first started writing music, we're like, we got to write some shit sounds like this. You know, we should make an album that sounds like this. Also, another band, Dawn, has an album.
Dawn's great.
Water Sun. We love like the long riffs of that album, you know, and sometimes like to delve into that kind of sound, you know, and like those 2 bands, and then all the residual of all the other black metal that we love is what made the original idea of making the first album occur.
All right, so is it Derek's job in Europe to use the intro tracks to each song? Like, are you giving Derek
that's all me. I just fire that off from a sample pad. Yeah, it's not hard to do.
Can you make a mistake and play like, who let the dogs out? Like, oh shit, wrong one.
Well, it has happened in the past where I have a Roland SPDSX, which is like a 9-pad sample pad. There's like 6 main square ones and then 3 bumpers up top. And I have in the past. There's a song or two where I'll trigger a sample in the middle of a song. One song we have like a stampede, you know, and so like at the right time I hit it, and then it kind of like builds up, and then like hopefully the stampede ends like right when the riff kicks in. But sometimes like, you know, I'll hit it a little early or a little late or whatever. I mean, you know, it's hard to time, but there's been a time or two where I've accidentally triggered that sample when I'm trying to trigger a different sample in like the next song or something. I go, and sometimes I'll have like a second to get over there. So I'm like, do a fill, and I gotta be like, whoop. And then sometimes I'll like miss it. And I'm like, oh shit, I have the stampede. And then I gotta like get back over there and like turn it off, but then hit the right one. And it's like, yeah, it can be a little hectic, but
oh my goodness. Now, all right, Derek, I have a question for you. So I was listening to one of Jesse's older interviews about the first album. He said you did the bass tracks when you were back in St. Louis, right?
Yeah, that was awesome. I came in town, St. Louis, for the holidays, see the parents and whatnot, and I just got together with the boys.
One of life's simple joys is playing with the boys.
And I think we busted out in like 2 days, the whole album.
Wow.
And they had sent me like some of the music before, so I kind of listened to it and was familiar with it, but a lot of it was showing me the riffs on the spot and then me just working out the stuff. Some of the stuff was just my idea, like, you know, my take on it, and then other things was like Jason had a specific bass line in mind. So it was actually really productive and really fun. I think they were both like 2 12-hour sessions, like 3 to 3 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, we started at like 8 p.m. and we were done at like 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. or something ridiculously, like 8 to 10 hour just marathon sessions. So that was really fun. You came up with a couple of really good parts, I remember. A couple just like, oh man, dude, right here, this. And we were like, oh, that, yeah. You know, like that was actually very like, that was one of the more like creative, 8-hour to 10-hour periods ever. You know, we were just like, took it riff by riff, and like, we tried to keep in mind, you know, the song in general, which is something that comes from just doing that a lot with the experience of going through songs, like, oh, well, we did this earlier, so let's try this now, or oh, let's do that twice, but then later we'll do this, and fun stuff like that. Yeah, that was great, man. That was fun.
My favorite bass tracks you did on the first album is actually Blood of the Old Wolf. I love it, dude, and like I love it, and I do notice Derek's bass tracks, and they do stand out. And Derek, you're just a killer bassist, man. I'm not saying because we've been friends and we slept together in the same rooms and stuff, but
Wait,
man. Rick was there too.
Derek, I was watching James for him not to do anything stupid while you were sleeping.
Yeah, Jesse and I have been in bands forever together, from Cast Stone to Booze Hounds, Abysmal. He was on the Scour Gray EP. I don't know. I'm sure I'm missing a few, but so I know Jesse's style up and down. So it was really easy to just go in there and lay the bass down, because like I kind of know when he's going to go into a halftime or the vibe that he's looking for. So it was easy and like super fun. And Jason did a killer job on the second record, but I do have those fond memories of the first.
You guys released an album a year after your last album. Did you already have the music written, or do you guys write really fast? Or I'm just kind of curious about how the workflow is for you guys.
So to be honest, we did have a couple songs, we did have a couple songs that ended up on the second record that could have ended up on the first record if we hadn't been like, okay, we got to put a hard stop here on, this is a record's worth of songs. Let's just concentrate on these 9, And so we did have a couple that were formed soon after the completion of the writing of the first record. So yeah, to answer your question, it started shortly thereafter, and we kept banging it out. Like the Sacred Rites songs came quite naturally, like over like a 6 to 8 month period after the first record was released and finished writing. And so when the time we were kind of like chopping at the bit to get that one recorded too, around the time when when we got signed to Napalm and like started doing some tours, we were like for instance, when we did this Devastation tour, we played 2 of the new songs, and that was in like April and May of this year. And we just kind of like kept it going, you know. Like Jason is constantly riffing away, and I'm constantly singing riffs into my phone, and like we'll regularly get together and trade off. But we also have lots going on with our other bands. Jason plays drums in 2 other bands, Bastard and Harkonnen. And I got another band, Oracle. It's like a power metal band that we're in the process of doing our 3rd record right now. And like, we also constantly doing stuff with those bands too. So like, now that we've got these 2 records going, we're kind of like, that we're out, you know, which is 19 songs. We have actually gotten together and riffed around for a couple of new songs or whatever, you know, like just because when you got ideas, you got ideas. And so you always have demos flowing, but we never really, the band is relatively young, so we haven't yet been like, okay, we're going to stop writing for a while, you know. But like, you know, next year we don't plan on putting out an album, you know, we just want to make a lot of live appearances and kind of build the band's name. So for now, we're, you know, if riffs come, riffs come. Like I've already got riffs in my phone, you know, but we're not necessarily going gung ho the way we were over the last 2 years, because we have like kind of a body of work to present. So
I think that's really important to always be writing. I do that with my bands too. I'm always coming up with ideas every weekend when I have a day off from work. I'm usually just tracking stuff, and I have like a huge folder like with like 500 WAV files in it, and like I forget what half of these riffs are.
Of course, you go back through a year later and you're like, oh shit, I forgot about this. Yeah, totally, man. It's good to have like a bank of riffs and a bank of ideas, you know. It's
yesterday Jesse and I were like sending each other like voice recordings, you know, that we just you know, like in our phone. So that shit goes down all the time, you know.
Derek, we need to know, does Jesse order from Manscaped?
Tell him, D. Tell him
I don't think he's
tell him the
escaped.
absolute truth. I don't mind if the truth comes out. Tell him.
I don't know what happens in the nether regions, but I haven't gotten any requests for any ball deodorant or anything from them.
So, Derek, when you came back for Christmas to record the first album, you're like, hey, guys, a bunch of Christmas gifts. Manscaped for everyone.
I think Derek is sitting on, like, crates of scape devices.
Not anymore.
Hey, guys, look at mine. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Look.
Powered by Manscaped tattoo.
Hey, guys, look. No scar. It's perfect.
Hey,
so, go ahead, Rick.
I'm too busy ordering Manscaped off of Amazon. Hold on a minute.
Oh, yeah. Clean balls or happy balls?
Clean, exactly. And itchy if you let it go. Yes. As far as like, yeah, because we're talking about writing. Like, do you guys like exchange like how me and Chris write for Wither and Soul? Like we send each other, you know, messages, you know, the what you may call it, like the files back and forth, and then like we finally get together and like we write. Like what do you guys like who usually like writes the riffs? Isn't it or who starts the riffs and then like do you start the drums first? Like do you guys like write the drums first or do you write the guitar tracks first or vice versa?
Songs, definitely guitar riffs that started off. Jason comes up with, yeah, I'd say 85%, you know, of the riffage and stuff. I always have a handful that I'll throw in, and occasionally we'll have like a 2 riff series that'll like start a song. Like for instance, Mark of the Valkyrie. You know, I have some riffs.
One of my favorites, yeah.
Yeah, and then Fear of the Old Blood. I have a lot of riffs in that one. You know, mainly like Jason will have riffs and bring them over. You know, he'll like record them on his phone or whatever for his own bank, and then he'll when he's got enough, he'll be like, "Hey man, what's up? You know, let's get together." And I'll be like, "Let's do it." And he'll come over, and I have like a home studio mini like big, and I have like a Roland TD9 electric kit. So like, you know, 1 in the morning or 10 at night, I can just like without having to like dial it in on a computer or whatever, and just lay down some like sloppy electric kit drum ideas for demos that will just like sit right here and like, you know, record in my home studio, and then like we'll structure the song and like just kind of put it together. And a lot of times the song will come up with like a minute and a half, 2 minutes of something, and then kind of like put it away, and then like 3 or 4 2 minutes of somethings later, sometimes you'll be like combined to, you're like, what, these and these we can make, let's do this, and then you'll be like, oh, this riff's I don't like it that much anymore, or whatever, stuff like that. And so that's basically the way it works. Once the song gets to the point where it's like, feel like it's winding up, you just kind of know it when it's like, this one, here we go, that could be it.
That's impressive. Yeah, I mean the stuff is really impressive. I mean with the riffs and all that, and like the arrangement, it's just smooth. It's really smooth. Goes really good together.
Yeah. But sometimes we'll jam an idea, and my favorite thing is to be like, what if we? And then ... whatever, and then another thing too is the idea bathroom, which I'm sure you probably know about. Like, you ever like get together and you're jamming, you're like, hold on, I gotta take a piss, and you go in the bathroom and you're like taking a piss, and you're sitting there and you're like, it's going over the wrist of your head, and then when you come out of the bathroom, you're like, I got it. We can do that part 8 times and then do a key change. Like the idea of bathroom. I think a lot of bands can.
I can attest for that. There's something about that bathroom. I don't know if it's all the strong tension pliers on the wall or something, but it's every time you go in and take a piss, you come out with like the fucking brain child.
Yeah, because you hold back your piss taking because you're like coming up with riffs until eventually you're like, all right, hold on, I gotta take a piss. But at that point, your head is like got all these riffs and ideas to work on, and it doesn't always happen, but inspiration tends to strike in the washroom.
Chris, do you have the same inspiration when you go take a piss?
Usually in the shower.
Unfortunately, it's hard to like grab your phone in the shower and be like singing the riff. You're coming up, but no, the ideas come up with there too, for sure.
That new music video did that. I think it was the self-titled track, Sacred Rites and Black Magic. What was the inspiration? Like, where did you get the inspiration for the music video?
Oh, it was all one night when there was a blood moon, and
you were taking a piss.
It was the anniversary of a night where the ancient druid cultures that used to live in these we had no idea at all. We were like, we got to make a video. We got nothing. Like, obviously any like idea we come up with, or any like idea that like I think in my head I see for a video is expensive. It's like I want to be on like horseback and have there be like dead enemies all around me, and I'm like covered in blood and looking like a badass or something, but that's just expensive, so like to be honest, we had no idea at all. And our video guy Juan was like, I know a chick who we could do like this kind of thing. We were like, okay. So to be honest, like, yeah, I hate to ruin it for anyone out there who might have thought that there was a lot of thought put into it.
Jesse, that's great, because next time if you need a chick, you can just be like, hey guys, we don't have any girls. Quick, Rick Hernandez, 6 hours away from Chicago. Rick, you want to be in a Stormruler video? Yeah, dye your hair and shave your balls and get down here.
Yeah. No,
you gotta talk to my agent.
Yeah, like, truth be told, I mean, the whole concept of the metal video, I don't want this to get me in some kind of trouble, but I find them to be rather silly. It's like,
Jesse, you were holding a sword, fighting like something in a castle in the first video.
The first video was fun because it was like cool to like get like a budget and we could like get some armor, you know, it was like, this will look badass in this. That, you know, I mean, I'm not much of a LARPer, but I mean, I like video games with swords and armor and shit. So I was like, this could be fun. In fact, this will be fun. That sounds like an awesome idea. You know, let's do it. But the second video though was like, no, I don't have any ideas. And like, admittedly, I don't sit around and watch metal bands videos. You know, I think they're silly. You know, it's hard. Like, I'm not trying to. I know. Here we go. It's hard to take them seriously. You know, like, oh, these guys are playing in the forest. You know, it's not like a thing that we're like, oh, and we want to dress up in these costumes and have people do things. And that's never really been part of our idiom, if you will. And so when the time comes to do a thing like that, we're kind of like, you know, like if the sky was the limit, then we could come up with some shit, you know.
Yeah.
But the sky's not the limit. You know, the limit is what you can effectively do and won't look too terribly dumb.
Yeah, well,
So
at least Derek's video got banned.
Oh, I remember that video.
Yeah, forced gender reassignment, man. Yeah, that was sick. So, yeah,
The
Derek.
part about that video was the reaction videos. There was like thousands of these. Thousands of these people watching it and just being like grossed out and stuff. So we all got together and watched a bunch of them. It was funny.
Derek, chime in. What do you think about metal music videos? Go ahead, D, because your experience with them, you made a few.
My experience making metal videos, I've never had the liberty to like do exactly what I wanted to do per se. I've got big ideas, but of course, like Jesse said, there's budgets involved. Like, but the one thing that I'm not a huge fan is the filming of the videos, because you have to like
play the song 8 times.
Like, 20 times and it's like,
yeah, dude.
And your neck's fucking broken, you know. I'm like,
yeah,
thank God I don't have any hair anymore, you know. But I actually, since I've got the mic, I've got a question for Jesse myself. Maybe he could elaborate with the crew.
Well,
Jesse.
guys, I gotta go. It was nice talking to you.
Gotta go shave my balls.
Manscaped waits for no manscape.
Woo!
I wonder if you could elaborate on the title for the first record, where the origins of that came from.
Well, I always had this idea that with a specific friend of ours from back in the day, a man you know well, a man by the name of Leo Halipa. And he and I always talked about how we needed to have an album called Upon the Eclipse, or a band called Upon the Eclipse, or some Upon the Eclipse. We would always talk about how epic it would be. And we never quite like made music, or it never quite worked in our like fumblings, if you will, at band attempts, but I always thought it would sound badass. So I stick to it.
Yeah, I think Jesse and ours first band, that was like the working title for like.
Yeah, Upon the Eclipse. Yeah, and so then we changed it to Under the Burning, but still, the roots are there. So if Leo Halipa ever sees this, made it happen, buddy.
Let's talk about the tour with Cannibal and Dark Funeral coming up in March, right?
Well, so like I mentioned before, now if your band gets signed to a label of the caliber of someone like Napalm Records, you get a team. So.
I'm sorry, Rick.
Napalm Records shortly after our signing, Napalm Records hooked us up with someone to manage us. And our manager is a man who is well connected and knows lots of people and has done everything you can do. So because we got him behind us, he is friends with everyone involved with that tour on the logistical side, and was able to push us through which is like ridiculously fortunate for us. So that's exactly how that happened.
Derek, congratulations on going back on the road with your pal Jesse. How do you feel about it, man?
I'm fucking stoked, man. I kind of knew about this tour for a while, before anybody else, and I told Jesse, we kind of, when I recorded the bass for the original one, I was like, yo, I'm in San Diego. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do full-time bass. And he's like, that's cool. We got some guys that could fill in and stuff. But I was like, I do want to do some stuff when I can. He's like, of course. So when I found out about the tour, I already got in his ear, and I was like, dude, come on. Sharing a bus with Dark Funeral, they're one of my favorites, and I know the Cannibal guys really well, and this is something I got to be a part of. So they were kind of tossing it around. They have some great bass players in St. Louis, and what happened was I gave Jason a tattoo, a Stormruler tattoo. And I was just in his ear the whole time. And I was like, come on, come on, come on. And then when the tattoo is done, he's like, you're in, let's do this tattoo. Let's do this tour. And so that kind of sealed the deal, but so stoked. The Illegals have taken a little break while Phil does the Pantera, of course. Mm-hmm. So my touring life has been on pause, even though I'm knee deep in writing the Scour full-length album. Yeah, it's gonna be great to get back on the road, especially I feel like everybody on the tour is like a homie already, so it's gonna be fucking awesome.
Yeah, congratulations, man. That's awesome.
You live in San Diego. So what are you gonna do? Are you just gonna fly out midway? Are you gonna go to St. Louis and fly out with them, or are you gonna meet them in Europe? How are you gonna do it?
Yeah, I'm gonna fly into St. Louis and for the rehearsals.
Okay.
And of course, as Jesse knows, I'll be ready to go before I even show up. But it won't take us very long to get fired all together. So I'll be flying out for rehearsals, and then we'll do the whole thing. It's a fucking long one, but
we only have to play 5 songs. I think we have a half-hour set, which is 5 Stormruler songs. And so it's not going to be terribly super grueling as far as playing a 2-hour set every night at 10:30 p.m. When you're tired. So. No, yeah, it's gonna be amazing. Can't wait.
Wow, Chris, how jealous are you on the jealous meter from 1 to 10? How jealous are you?
Actually, I'm more jealous of the bands that can afford the time to go on tour, because I need a new job. I need 6 weeks off a year, and more than that probably.
Yeah, I mean, if your job is a computer, then you can do it as long as you have access to the internet and a computer. That's actually a great way to work if you're going to be a tour musician. Because you can work on tour.
I was going to say, if they can find a way I can use a forklift by remote. Then I can do
Okay, so Rick, listen, Jesse has limited time, so you want to give him your last statements there, Rick?
Oh yeah, I listened to both albums. We were listening to actually both of them on our way to Cincinnati. We from our last gig last week, and right away, yeah, I liked what I heard. I mean, it's very like you said, it's kind of like a melting pot with a lot of the influences that you guys had. And I mean, yeah, Under the Burning Eclipse, I mean, both albums are good, but my favorite is I think everybody's favorite. I think that's the crowd pleaser right there, is The Blood of the Old Wolf. And then you got Mark of the Valkyries was one of my favorites too. And for the Sacred Rites Black Match, my favorite is, I think, the A Malice of Dead and Cold.
Malice Dead and Cold,
which,
yeah.
Which I think it's like the perfect finisher of an album. It's got that finisher vibe to it, where it's got the big epic beginning, and then it gets.
When we wrote that one, we were like, "This is the final track for sure." Yeah, I don't think it wasn't like the last song we wrote, but when we completed it, we were like, "This is final track material for sure." Thanks for giving it your time, which that's 2 hours out of your life at least if you listen to it.
Like I said, I was impressed on how fast you guys write these, write everything. It's just so fucking impressive, man. I can't stress that.
That means a lot, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Jesse, there is a band I recommend for you. Is the new Blood of the Wolf.
It's time to grab
Yes, you seem to be a big fan of it. I think.
Yeah,
In fact, I think you should change this podcast to Blood of the Wolf podcast. Blood of the podcast Wolf.
Sponsored by Blood of the Wolf Festival.
Chris, what's the new album called?
Declaration of War Eternal.
Yes. And how many albums does Blood of the Wolf have?
This is technically the fourth one if you count our previous one, which was an EP.
Ha! You got more albums than Stormruler. Yeah, what's next for the D, man? What's going on for you, man?
I've got a few things in the works. Working on the new Scour full-length record right now. Got a bunch of my best work so far. Got a bunch of new songs. So we're looking to record that in not too long. And then from then it's just kind of just focusing on the Stormruler, really.
Okay, Chris, so tell us what's going on with you in your upcoming bands. Go ahead, Chris.
So 2 bands. I'm in Withering Soul and Blood of the Wolf. They occupy all my time.
Cool.
Sick.
And Rick?
Withering Soul with this gentleman here, Chris. He writes.
Not Mark, right?
What's that, Mark? You're not. Yes.
Mark's
Not
gonna
Mark.
do some dancing for us.
He's gonna play the skin flute. Yeah. So there's Withering Soul I got, and then there's Imminent Terror, which is a thrash project. That I started writing during the pandemic. I just had this like bug up my ass to, just write some shit. And I was listening to a lot of old Sepultura, a lot of like old like Metallica, Anthrax, and just like a lot of the old like thrash shit. Just got into this big, got into a big thrash kick, and started writing for that. And just did like a little 5-song EP. Did all the instrumentations. My buddy Andy Pindy from Armored Assault did the vocals. It's out right now. It's on Spotify, YouTube. Check it out. Imminent Terror, 5-song EP. That's it.
Okay, boys, I do gotta go.
Potatoes are great.